Hi students, this is Ms. Ty here. In this video, we will review all of the calculator strategies that you need to crush the new algebra Regents coming up this June. We will use the TI-84 calculator to solve the multiple choice problems and the extended response problems on the January 2024 Algebra 1 Regents. I'll also share a couple tips around which question types will show up from this exam on the new Algebra 1 Regents. So grab a notebook and pencil and let's get started. Number 1, the graph below represents a dog walker's speed during his 30-minute walk around the neighborhood. Which statement best describes what the dog walker was doing during the 12 to 18-minute interval of his walk? Let's take a look at the graph. The 12-minute mark starts right around here. And then the 18-minute mark ends right here. So I notice that we have a horizontal line between 12 minutes and 18 minutes. Let's take a look at our axes. The x-axis is labeled with time, and the y-axis is labeled with speed. So this means at 12 minutes, the dog walker was traveling at a speed of 1.5 miles per hour. Then at 18 minutes, the dog walker was still traveling at a speed of 1.5 miles per hour. When we think of miles per hour, this is actually the person's speed, also known as their rate, right? Like miles per hour is considered a rate. So let's take a look at the answer choices. Answer choice 1 says he was walking at a constant rate. I like that answer choice because it's basically saying that the rate, or in this case, the speed, stayed the same, which is true. Answer choice 2 says he was increasing his speed. That's not true. The speed stayed the same. Answer choice 3 says he was decreasing his speed. That's also not true because the speed stayed the same, right? And then answer choice 4, he was standing still. That is not true because from 12 minutes to 18 minutes, he simply maintained his speed, which means he did actually move. So for question number 1, we know that answer choice 1 is the correct answer. For this problem, we did not need to use the calculator. Number 2, given the relation 0, 4, 2, 6, 4, 8, and x, 7, which value of x will make this relation a function? The shortcut we give to our students is for a relation to be a function, x values don't repeat, okay? For a relation to be a function, x values don't repeat. So let's take a look. Right now, we have the x values 0, 2, 4, and x. So we can't see 0 again because then the 0 would repeat. We can't see 2 again, and we cannot see 4 again. So the only x value here that will allow all x values to be different is the x value 6. So answer choice 3 is the correct answer. Let's continue. Number 3, the Speedy Jet Ski Rental Company charges an insurance fee and an hourly rate. The total cost is modeled by the function r of x equals 30 plus 40x. Based on this model, which statements are true? Remember, in a linear function, the constant is usually the initial amount, the one-time charge, the y-intercept. That's why there's no variable attached. And the 40 would always represent the slope or the rate or the average rate of change, things of that nature. Let's take a look. R of x represents the total cost. That's exactly what the problem says. It says the total cost is modeled by this function. So R of x certainly is the total cost. So we know that 1 is true, and notice that that shows up in all of the answer choices. X is the number of hours rented. That makes sense because they're saying that there's an hourly rental rate. So remember, 40 is going to be our rate, and then X is the number of hours rented. So 2 is also true. So we can get rid of answer choice 1 and answer choice 3. Now we're deciding between 2 and 4. 4 is the insurance fee, and then $30 is the hourly rental rate. That is not true. Remember, the rate and the slope are usually one and the same. So $30 would be the insurance fee, and $40 is actually the hourly rental rate. So that's how we know that these two values were switched, and that is actually incorrect. So 1 and 2 are correct. Therefore, we're going to go with number 2 as our final answer. Number 4, the 11th term of the sequence 3, -6, 12, -24, ... is. So the first step is to figure out, is this an arithmetic or geometric sequence? Arithmetic sequences will be added by the same number every time, even if that means you're adding by a negative number. Geometric sequences are going to require you to multiply by the same number every time. This can be an integer or a fraction. Let's take a look. To go from 3 to -6, the numbers are going down. So we have two options. Either we can add -9, or we can multiply by -2. These are two options that will allow the number 3 to turn into a -6. But the key here is we need to move forward with the exact same behavior to go from -6 to 12. So let's say I added -9 to -6. That would give us -15. However, if I multiplied -6 times -2, that will give us 12. And 12 is the next term in the sequence. So that is how I determine whether or not this is an arithmetic or geometric sequence. Now that we know that question number 4 is referring to a geometric sequence, we need to graph the formula. Recall that the reference sheet is changing for the new Algebra 1 Regents. And so this is the new reference sheet that you're going to use this coming June. Now, let's take a look at the geometric sequence formula. It is right here. It is a sub n equals a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1. That's what we're going to use to solve this problem. Considering the problem is asking us to find the 11th term, we will have a sub 11 equals a sub 1, which is 3, times the common ratio, which we identified was -2, raised to the n minus 1. Since we're finding the 11th term, we're going to say 11 minus 1. Guys, make sure you understand the common ratio. Common ratio is simply what number are we multiplying by every time to get the next term in the geometric sequence. So we confirmed that 3 times -2 is -6, -6 times -2 is -12, and we can also see that 12 times -2 gives you -24. So that's what lets us know that the common ratio is -2. At this point, I would put this into our calculator. So we have 3 times, so I'm going to put that in parentheses, -2, close parentheses, and then we're going to raise -2 to the 10th power because 11 minus 1 is 10. When we press enter, we will have our answer. So it looks like the correct answer for this problem is 3072. So that's going to be the 11th term of the sequence. Make sure you write this down. We didn't really need the calculator in the beginning. We needed the reference sheet in the beginning. But to do the computation, we certainly needed the calculator. Notice this is the first problem that we actually needed a calculator. So that's kind of cool. Let's continue. Alrighty. So we are now looking at number 5. Which situation represents exponential growth? I always tell my students, we need to know two simple concepts. Linear means adding or subtracting, and then exponential means multiplying or dividing, right? And so it's very simple. Guys, as long as you can split it up into these two concepts, you're going to be able to answer these problems very quickly. Aiden adds $10 to a jar each week. They actually gave you the key word here. He's adding. Therefore, this one is linear. A pine tree grows 1.5 feet per year. When you're growing, it's going to be the same amount per year. So technically, we are adding 1.5 every single year. So this is also going to be linear. Ella earns $20 per hour babysitting. Again, if she does 1 hour, it's 20. 2 hours, it's 40. 3 hours, it's 60. So technically, we are simply adding $20 every hour. That's also going to be linear. For answer choice 4, it says the number of people majoring in computer science doubles every 5 years. When you double, you're multiplying by 2. So this one is going to be exponential. Guys, this is one of the biggest concepts in the Algebra 1 Regents in general, right? Differentiating between what is a linear relationship and what is an exponential relationship. Remember, linear functions, you're simply adding or subtracting the same number every time. But exponential functions, you're multiplying or dividing the same number every time. So answer choice 4 is correct. Let's continue. Number 6, the expression negative x squared plus 3x minus 7 minus 4x squared plus 5x minus 2 is equivalent to, we are going to distribute the negative. When we distribute the negative, we now have negative x squared plus 3x minus 7 minus 4x squared minus 5x plus 2. Now we will combine like terms. We have negative x squared and negative 4x squared. We have 3x and negative 5x. And we have negative 7 and positive 2. So when we combine our like terms, we're going to end up with negative 5x squared minus 2x minus 5. So the correct answer is choice 2. Now I want to show you a pretty cool way that you can find the answer to this on the calculator. Some of us may be working on mastering subtracting polynomials, right? We're probably not there yet. If you are, then you can certainly just take the algebraic approach and you will just be fine. But what if you're in a situation where it's like, whoa, I get the signs confused and I make a lot of mistakes? How do I ensure that I get this right every time? So I'm going to show you a way to do this. Now, I want you to pay close attention. Every time you see the term is equivalent to, that is letting you know that whatever this expression is, it needs to be equivalent to one of these answer choices. So I'm going to actually use the y equals function, and we're going to start by entering the original expression into y equals. So we have negative x squared plus 3x minus 7. Then we have minus 4x squared plus 5x minus 2. And that is our original expression. Now we're going to test out each of the answer choices to see which one it is equivalent to. Guys, we're going to start by entering choice 1 into y2. So we have negative 5x squared minus 2x minus 9. Then you're going to go to second graph and we're going to look at the y columns. If these two y columns are equivalent, then answer choice 1 is the correct answer. But notice they're not, right? Negative 5 is not equal to negative 9. Negative 12 is not equal to negative 16, and so on and so forth. So let's go back to the drawing board. We're going to go to y2 and make some adjustments. So answer choice 2 is saying negative 5x squared minus 2x minus 5. So I simply swapped out the minus 9 with minus 5. And now let's take a look. Notice the y columns are equivalent. So this lets you know that the expression that was given is equivalent to answer choice 2. So that is how I would use the calculator to do some of these problems that require a little bit more algebra. Of course, I recommend that you learn your algebra because you're going to need it for algebra 2 trig and geometry. But for the purposes of us making sure that you crush the new algebra 1 Regents, this is a shortcut strategy that you can use today. Okay? All right, guys, let's continue. Number 7, if f of x equals x squared, which function is the result of shifting f of x 3 units left and 2 units down? Recall that the standard parabolic function looks like this. So when we say 2 units down, we're going to shift the parabola down 2 units, and that is going to change the function to x squared minus 2. So we know that the final answer needs to have a minus 2 somewhere in there. So we kind of know that it's going to be answer choice 3. But let me explain the other part as well. When the function shifts 3 units left, right, we're going to be somewhere over here, okay? So the function went down 2 units and it also went to the left 3 units. So because it's going to the left, you're actually going to do plus 3. So we have x plus 3 squared and then minus 2. Remember, when it's going up or down, the units stay the same. So down is going to be minus and up is going to be positive. But if it's going left and right, the units are opposite, right? So if we're going 3 units to the left, even though you think it's going to be -3, it's actually +3. If we were going 3 units to the right, it ends up being -3, okay? Let's continue. We're going to use the y equals function yet again to solve this problem. So we will start with x squared as our parent function, and then we can test out each of the answer choices. So we'll start with x plus 2. We're going to square that, and then we're going to subtract 3. Now let's take a look at the graph. This problem clearly moves down 3 units and to the left 2 units. You can see that, right? Because the vertex is right here. So this is actually -2, right? 2 to the left, and then this is -3 right here. So that's what lets us know that this is not the right answer. When we go back and make some adjustments, we are going to stumble across the correct answer. We had x plus 3 squared minus 2. Let's take a look. Notice for this particular graph, the red graph moves 3 to the left, which is specifically what they said, and 2 units down. So that's exactly what the problem was referring to. Number 8. An equation used to find the velocity of an object is given as v squared equals u squared plus 2as, where u is the initial velocity and v is the final velocity. A is the acceleration of the object and s is the distance traveled. When this equation is solved for a, what is the result? Okay, let's see. So we have v squared equals u squared plus 2as. So the first step is to, of course, subtract u squared. That's just the easiest thing for us to do. So now we have v squared minus u squared equals 2as. Notice a is being multiplied by 2 and s. So what's the opposite? Well, we're going to divide by 2s. So we are going to be left with a equals v squared minus u squared divided by 2s. So answer choice 2 is the correct answer. Notice we really didn't need to use a calculator for number 8 at all. Number 9, Mr. Smith's math class surveyed students to determine their favorite flavors of soft ice cream. The results are shown in the table below. Of the students who preferred chocolate, so that's going to be this column right here, approximately what percent were seniors? So we're going to have 67 out of 67 plus 42. Let's use our calculator to see what we're working with. 67 plus 42 is 109. So we know that that's our total. And now we're going to turn this fraction into a percent. 67 divided by 109 equals 0.6146, right? And now we can move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So that's going to be 61.5%. Let's continue. Number 10. If f of x equals x squared plus 2x plus 1 and g of x is 3x plus 5, then what is the value of f of 1 minus g of 3? We're going to take a look at our calculator. In y1, I'll write x squared plus 2x plus 1. That's going to be our f of x function. So we see that f of 1 is 4, right? So let's write that down so that we can remember it. Now we need to calculate g of 3. So we can go here and we're going to type in g of x. So we have 3x plus 5. And we're going to go to second graph. So g of 3 is 14. 4 minus 14 is -10. So that's going to be the correct answer. Okay. Number 11. So we first need to figure out the y-intercept for each of these functions, right? So we can see here the y-intercept. The y-intercept for f of x equals -4x minus 1 is right here. That's the y-intercept. So we have -1. The y-intercept is going to be 3 for this one. The y-intercept is going to be 2 for this one. And the y-intercept here is 1. So the answer choice with the largest y-intercept is choice 3. Now, just in case you didn't know how to identify the y-intercept, this is where you're going to go to the calculator to plug in answer choice 1 and 3, because in general, you should know that a y-intercept means what is y when x is 0. It's always going to be 0 comma something. So that's why the table of values is easiest. And then the y-intercept is going to be where the graph crosses the y-axis. So even observing the graph is pretty easy as well. But for these two, you can simply enter it into the calculator so you can see what's going on. So for example, we're going to go to y equals, and we have negative 4x minus 1, right? So when I graph it, I can see that it's crossing the y-axis at negative 1, right? And then we also have absolute value. So I don't know if you guys know this, but you can do second 0. And absolute value is the first function when you hit second 0. So now we have absolute value of x, and we're going to add 3. And so now we can take a look at the graph. So notice this shifts the absolute value function up 3 units. Therefore, the y-intercept is 3. So that's how we know the y-intercept for all 4 of these answer choices, and the largest one is choice 3. Let's continue. 2 texting plans are advertised. Plan A has a monthly fee of $15 with a charge of 0.08 cents per text. I'm going to call the text T because, it starts with a T. And then Plan B has a monthly fee of $3 with a charge of 12 cents per text. If T represents the number of text messages in a month, which inequality should be used to show that the cost of Plan A is less than the cost of Plan B? We know that the less than symbol looks like this, right? This is less than. So we're going to have Plan A first. We have 15 plus 0.08t is less than 3 plus 0.12t. So that's choice 1. That was pretty simple. So this completes the first 12 problems in the January 2024 Algebra 1 Regents. Hopefully you've learned a lot. I'm going to record another video for you with the second half of the multiple choice section. So you will have questions number 13 through 24 in that video. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Toodles!